my stench, beneath the black violet the green and now into the stream again. Black old sun, won't you come? Won't you wave the rain? Black old sun, won't you come? Won't you come?
There is whiskey in the water, and there is death upon the vine. There is fear in the eyes of your father, and there is yours and there is mine. There is a desert veiled in pavement, and there's a city of 7 hills. All our debris flows to the ocean. To meet again, I hope it will. How could something so fair be so cruel when this black sun revolved around you? There is an answer and a question, and there is hope within despair, and there is beauty in a failure, and there are depths beyond compare. There is a role of a lifetime, and there's a song yet to be sung. There's a dumpster in the driveway of all the plans that came undone. How could something so fair be so cruel when this black sun revolved around you? How could something so fair be so cruel when this black sun revolved around you? There's whiskey in the water, and there is death upon the vine, and there is grace within forgiveness, but it's so hard for me to find. How could something so fair be so cruel when this black sun revolved around you? How could something so fair be so cruel when this black sun revolved around you?
Hey, thanks for joining me. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while since we've discussed the black sun, so let's break it down once again. The black sun exists in a separate realm as the counterpart of the white sun. Both are two expressions of the same entity. The white sun expresses our conscious reality into matter, while the black sun expresses our subconscious reality into experiences and oral information. The black sun is the womb of creation. It processes our intentions, goals, and desires. It is the ever-present organic machine of manifestation. So if one can harness their own destiny, one can dictate what information they input into the black sun, and therefore one can shape reality through the ether. So the black sun's information is woven into the ether through the aurora borealis, or astral light of creation. The etheric plane, also known as the Akashic Records, is the canvas for the astral light and exists as the subtle layer of reality, which acts as the model for the physical realm. It's the black sun's web which is responsible for us being multidimensional creators. It is the void from which the light came, the voice of the cosmic egg, a piece of the pleroma on earth, the original black goo.
Monica, look above you now.
Us being multidimensional creators. It is the void from which the light came, the voice of the cosmic egg, a piece of the pleroma on earth, the original black goo. Amun is one of the first recorded ancient Egyptian gods, mentioned in the old Egyptian pyramid texts. It was thought that Amun created himself, and then created everything else while remaining distant and separate from the world. In that sense, he was the original and indivisible creator in Egyptian mythology. He later merged with Ra, and he became both a visible and invisible deity. So this duality of these two gods, it's representative of the two suns that exist in our realm, the white sun and the black sun. The black sun is hidden from those in these outer lands, and this is why translated, Amun means the hidden one, or invisible. Amun is the primeval creator, a symbol of the creative force, just in the same way that the black sun is the processing unit of our intent, the original spark that descended from the realms. Even the ancient Pythagoreans knew that the earth unfolded geometrically from a black hole at the center. The black sun illuminates Hyperborea, and this is what Olaf Jansen called the smoky god. The quintessential Gnostic tale goes as follows. Sophia, an expression of the monad, what we would call source, descended from it in order to create her own world, and in doing so, she became entangled in matter. Sophia is the Gnostic primeval creator, from which sprang forth the demiurge, and thus all life and matter as we know it. Sophia, like Amun, is the black sun. They're the same thing. Sophia is Gaia, Ishtar, Persephone. All of these goddesses represent the feminine creative force that flows through the ether. She is the metaphorical mother, holding us all in her womb, birthing our dreams and desires through our interconnectedness through her prime vehicle, the black sun. The black sun's carrier, the aurora borealis, travels through the ether and weaves reality based on the collective intent. It is not a conscious act, and therefore the aurora borealis could be interpreted as a sort of organic artificial intelligence. This is what the Matrix movie shows as the Matrix code raining down. This code is generative when our intent is aligned with the emerald green rays of our hearts, but degenerative when our intent is aligned with disharmony. The coming golden age will not be experienced fully by those who are not living from the heart. The ether is being changed, charged by Sophia, and cleansed. And this is why the Schumann resonance is increasing. She is raising her vibrations, and in turn, we are raising ours. The time is now. The North Seal Project will experience the Black Sun when we make the initial trip to Hyperborea, to the Garden of Eden, being the first from these outer lands to witness Sophia's presence in full. The center land is both on Earth and in a parallel universe. This paradox seems strange, but take into account the intense magnetism of Mount Meru. This is what's creating the pull of the compass. This magnetism dilates time and space and covers the area closest to it with an ethereal mist, which anchors it both in the higher realms and on Earth, which would explain the accounts of it being a supreme paradise, but also consisting of physical attributes on these outer lands, such as food, drink, music, forests, houses, etc. Shambhala is not a place of supreme renunciation. The inhabitants still experience many things that we do on these outer lands, but they do so in a non-destructive way. Whatever happens on these outer lands, it's important to know that the center will never be affected and cannot be infiltrated by dark forces. After all, the ancient Tibetan tradition says that it cannot be destroyed by water nor fire, for it is the eternal. It cannot be destroyed by water nor fire, for it is the eternal. It cannot be destroyed by water nor fire, for it is the eternal earth. Thank you for watching. Take care, everyone. I love you all.
Greetings, my valiant disciples. Today I want to talk a bit about the Black Sun, since we just had a glorious release at Legio Gloria, and some of the designs contained the Black Sun, such as this Byzantine Black Sun. And the first question I want to address is the Black Sun a hate symbol? No, absolutely not. That is as retarded as saying that the Chinese yin and yang is a hate symbol, or that a certain nation's flag is a hate symbol. I know that there are a lot of American Jewish groups that, deem every single native European symbol as something hateful. So this included the Hammer of Thor, all the Nordic runes basically. But a hate symbol is something, the Talmud for example, if you read through the Talmud, the Jewish Talmud, how much they hate Christians, that is hateful. Something that promotes your own identity is not hateful, because this isn't aimed against anyone else, just as a rune isn't aimed against anyone else. It's just something to reinforce your own identity. So yeah, it's absolutely not a hate symbol. It's absolutely retarded to say that. It's something that is about ourselves. It's not aimed against anyone else. To take an example, if you're walking down the street, minding your own business, you're not bothering anyone, but if someone comes at you, you will obviously retaliate. That is absolutely natural. Same thing with wearing pro-European symbols. It's about reinforcing yourself. You're not bothering anyone else. If they are offended by it, it's their problem, because then they have misunderstood its meaning. So absolutely not. Now in regard to this particular design, it's a Byzantine version of it, and it's not supposed to be historically correct. It's supposed to promote European unity, and obviously when I say European I also mean Americas, Australia and the other former colonies. Now on to what the Black Sun means. I thought about titling the video "What does the Black Sun mean?" but since I haven't discovered enough sources, I will just state what does the Black Sun mean to me. Now, first and foremost, it is a native European symbol, which is then per default a revolt against the liberal leftist establishment. It's also a revolt against the modern world, because in the modern world, obviously, if everything is available to everyone, it doesn't really have any meaning. So you can cheer for an English football team, or if you're in America, you can cheer for a football team there, with absolutely no connection to anything at all. But having a European unique symbol, it's something completely else. So that is why I use it in my aesthetics, and why I use it for Legio Gloria quite a bit as well. So, on to what it means. Again, I will say that there are probably many people who will know this type of thing better than I do, but this is just my take on it. So if we look at the Black Sun, for me it stands for an enlightenment, finding your purpose in life, and a spiritual reawakening in this time. So if we look upon it, it looks like a sun, and it also looks like a wheel, and the wheel is, to quote a wise man, very Indo-European. The Aryans, when they spread their culture back in the day, they were greatly helped by the wheel. So they had chariots, etc., which was very important to for them to become so dominating. Now also, if you look upon the wheel as a in a more spiritual way, the year is also going like a wheel. The year, time itself, it goes in cycles. If you look upon the Nordic mythology, you have Ragnarök, which is the end of the world, but the end of the world is also followed by a rebirth of the world. So it's technically not the end of the world, it's just an end of an era. Same thing you have in Hinduism with the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, which some say we are in right now, and I agree. We are probably in the Kali Yuga right now, but it's followed by the Golden Age, so it goes in cycles all the time. Just like a wheel, it goes around. Now obviously in Abrahamic religions you have there's a stretch of time that goes ever forward. So there you have, and from there you can have the progressive thought, which stipulates that everything is continuously getting better. But in the European mythologies, it's more cyclic. So that is one thought about the cycle of time, the cycle of the world. Now, another thing also in regards to viewing the black sun as a wheel is that you can, when you have it on your chest, close to your heart, you can envision it as you being dormant, and then you turn it, whoom, and it goes on, and it ignites a fire within you, filling you with motivation and life-affirming energy. So if you look upon it and view it in that way, turn it on, then it's go time. So that is a mental technique I think is quite valid when you look upon this particular symbol. So yeah, a sun, a wheel, a symbol for our reawakening in Europe. Much needed in this particular day and age. So to conclude, is it a hate symbol? No, absolutely not. It's about as ridiculous as saying that the British flag is a hate symbol, or the Swedish flag is a hate symbol, or the Chinese yin and yang is a hate symbol. No one is gonna say that who has any sort of intellect. And then secondly, what does it mean? Yeah, there aren't all too many sources saying what it means, but for me at least, a reawakening, a spiritual reawakening, an enlightenment process, finding your purpose, and just, turning that wheel on to gain motivation. So, that's my take on the black sun. And also, it looks absolutely aesthetic, not to forget that aspect. Thank you for watching. XOXO. Boom!
Unwavering among us are some of the most miraculous events happening in the natural disaster arena. Before our times, there have always been hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes, but it's happening at an alarming rate. Here we see an anomaly before us where a light sparks into a total of 10 different spiraling ethers that all equate in the location of Ontario and New York. Over 300 people visualized this event.
We have two kinds of light, material and spiritual. The material light of the sun looks like it is the source of all life. It gives heat to keep us warm, and it makes the plants grow. Yet once the spiritual life has gone out of something, it does not matter how much sunlight falls upon it, it cannot be reanimated. The sun is thus an impostor of the real giver of life, who is the creator of all, and who we are told in the Epistle of Timothy is the light which no man can approach unto, whom no man hath seen nor can see, the light in which Christ dwells. This is the black sun. It is not an eclipse, a black hole, or the reversal of material light. It is a light which no one can see, but which gives us life. There is much talk of the black sun among anti-Christian nationalists, but there are no explicit references to it anywhere in the Aryan scriptures, apart from descriptions in the Bible, where it tells us this light cannot be seen, and it is where Christ the Logos resides. It is also spoken about in the book of Revelation, where it says, quote, "The city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof." Close quote. The black sun is thus a representation of the glory of God, the Logos. It is not the residence of Lucifer. The symbol for the black sun found in the SS castle at Wewelsburg has never been found anywhere else. There is a Slavic symbol which looks familiar, but what it represents is not exactly known. We may find similar images in alchemical literature, but these are always referring to eclipses, which, although powerful symbols highlighting the power of God over the sun, are not anything to do with the black sun. If you wanted to come up with a symbol for the light which no man can see, the spiritual light which gives us life, then the black sun would be the perfect way to express it.
In 1938, 300 miles from Berlin, the halls of Wewelsburg Castle echoed with the ringing of tools. 12 stone pillars are constructed at the edges of a room in the north tower. In the center, a sunwheel mosaic is embedded into the floor in green and gold, onto which converges the light of day from 12 windows. The radial motif is repeated within the sunwheel itself. Arranged in a clockwise pattern, 12 sig runes emerge from a central point. This symbol, the Sonnenrad or Black Sun, has become the de facto emblem of the esoteric or occult strain of post-war National Socialist thought. Unfortunately, speculation around its meaning has inspired a wealth of literature relying more on sensationalism than on substance. Considering the recurrence of the number 12 both in the structure of the Sonnenrad mosaic and that of the room built around it, a discussion of numerology seems a reasonable place to begin. Although a definite medievalist streak looms large over Himmler's remodeling of Wewelsburg Castle, according to SS Obergruppenführer Karl Wolff, the top 12 SS generals that were to meet in the hall represented the 12 Knights of the Round Table, one of the castle's study halls was dubbed König Artus, etc. An Arthurian inspiration is by itself insufficient to explain the number's prominence. For instance, we know that the ancient Greeks worshipped 12 Olympian deities to whom an altar described by Pindar as the navel of the city was dedicated in the Agora of Athens. In Latium, the 12 statues of the De Consentis stood in the Forum in the heart of Rome alongside the Law of the 12 Tables. The Prose Edda states that 12 are the Aesir of the race of gods, and that Odin, the highest and eldest of the Aesir, is known by 12 names. The Norse gods held court atop their 12 seats in Ida Field in the center of Asgard, a realm that was held to be the middle of the world. Furthermore, in the center of Niflheim, beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, lies the spring of Vergelmir, out of which 12 rivers flow, and so on. These are but a few examples of the link within Indo-European mythology between the number 12 and the traditional motif of the world axis. In Wewelsburg Castle's Obergruppenführer's Hall, As in the Roman Forum and Athenian Agora, the number 12 marks a sacred boundary that, owing to its association with the zodiac, projects the circumscribed area outside of time and space. Mircea Eliade explains this process in the following terms. The reality of the site is secured through consecration of the ground, i.e. through its transformation into a center. Naturally, the consecration of the center occurs in a space qualitatively different from profane space. Through the paradox of right, every consecrated space coincides with the center of the world, just as the time of any ritual coincides with the mythical time of the beginning. Clearly, the Sunwheel of Wewelsburg Castle cannot be reduced to a mere ornament. When designing the Obergruppenführershall, Himmler was appealing to an ancient and venerable tradition that, as we will continue to show, predates the Arthurian legend by thousands of years. One of the many meanings of the Black Sun, then, is one of totality. As such, its counterpart in sacred geometry is the dodecahedron with its 12 faces, like those of the 12 Olympians and 12 Aesires, staring into an immovable pitch-black center, the hub of the cosmic wheel around which the universe rotates like stars across the night sky. Though derailed by the outbreak of war, plans for the construction of an eternal flame placed atop a golden disc in the middle of the sun wheel are attested by the presence of a gas line beneath the room's floor. This mirrors the central fire of Pythagorean astronomy, a hidden or dark sun at the universe's core of which our yellow sun is but a shadow. Aside from Pythagoras, numerous mystics throughout history have described the faraway reaches of the Godhead as wrapped on all sides in darkness. This darkness is the shroud of an ineffable mystery visible only to the ascetic who, like Odin, sacrifices his eye so that he may be granted second sight. Dionysius the Areopagite alluded to the same principle when writing that, "By passing beyond everything, yourself included, irresistibly and completely, you will be exalted in pure ecstasy right up to the dark splendor of the divine superessence." Therefore, the Black Sun is so named because, paraphrasing Johannes Tauler, the paths of sense perception will never discover it. Iranian Sufism similarly refers to the divine night, a black light that is the source and origin of all light. For example, in the Rose Garden of Mystery, a 14th century Persian text, it is said that the black color is light of pure ipseity. Within this darkness is the water of life. Ipseity, synonymous here with Meister Eckhart's concept of istikite or selfness, is the atma, what remains of our being when all that is anatta, or not I, is dissolved. As mentioned in the Rose Garden of Mystery, the divine night is not an end in itself, but a threshold that must be crossed before one can drink the water of life. Avicenna tells us that perpetual darkness surrounds the pole unpenetrated by any ray of light, but he who fearlessly enters this darkness will emerge into a clearly lighted plain, where he will find this springing fountain. A polar region concealed in perpetual darkness is equivalent to the motif of the inaccessible or hidden land that surfaces in countless Indo-European traditions, otherwise known as Hyperborea. There, behind a veil of obscurity, reigns Yima, the first man, over a city of pure, uncreated light, and where, according to the Avesta, the green never fades, and the golden age never ends. A common initiatic theme in many mystery religions of antiquity related to the image of black light is that of the midnight sun. After being initiated into the cult of Isis, Apuleius declared, "Accessi confinium mortis, nocte media vidi solem coruscantem lumine," meaning, "I approached the boundaries of death. At midnight I saw the sun shining with its brilliant light." Here, the boundary of death is the selfsame darkness that, for Avicenna, envelops the polar paradise and shields it from decay. By crossing this threshold, by successfully navigating this supernal obscurity, one becomes Dvija, twice born. The 12 rays of the Black Sun are visible to them alone. When, in his recital of the Occidental exile, Ibn Suhrawardi speaks of being brought back to life after being cut into pieces, he is alluding to this same second birth. His vision of a sun rising at the edge of darkness announces an inner illumination, pointing the way to the wilderness in the mountains, another clear symbol of centrality. Najim Kobra, another medieval Persian mystic, describes the journey to the pole with the chromatic language of the Hermetic tradition, associating each step of the soul's return with a specific color, witnessing first a darkness of natural existence, then a fiery light, then the green light of the heart. As the symbol of the first stage of the alchemical magnum opus, the Black Sun, or Sol Niger, is associated with putrefaction or calcination, and signifies the destruction of the physical body. We have already spoken of the link between initiatory death, often expressed in terms of ritual dismemberment, and the color black. In contrast, Cobra's fiery or red light recalls the appearance of Apuleius' midnight sun and signals the completion of the Hermetic great work. For Surawardi as well, beyond the divine night, at the summit of the cosmic mountain, i.e. the mythical pole, where heaven and earth meet, stands the emerald rock. This gem's color is associated with Hyperborea, the land of eternal spring where, as per the Avesta, the green never fades. Even the Book of Revelation associates, in no uncertain terms, this color with the mythical center. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. It also bears repeating that the sun wheel mosaic in Wewelsburg Castle is not actually black, but green. In Surawardi's Book of Elucidations, Hermes witnesses the Pillar of Dawn, the midnight sun, bursting forth from its nocturnal tomb, whereupon a voice orders him to seize hold of the cable of the ray of light and rise to the battlements of the throne. He ascended until, we are told, both heaven and earth were beneath his feet. Here the meaning of Hermes' ascent should be obvious. In referring to a region above heaven and earth, we're dealing with the absolute transcendence of being and non-being alike, the pure unconditioned state or nirvana of the Buddhists, that is the apex of Aryan spiritual practice. As mentioned earlier, the color scheme and indeed the imagery itself, evoked by the Persian Sufis in the mystical accounts of their journey to the pole, can be traced back to the Hermetic tradition. However, less well known is the connection between Sufi mysticism, esoteric alchemy, the Hyperborean mythos, and the Egyptian Amduat. The idea, which we have referenced multiple times in this text, that the black sun is a sort of gateway to a central luminous region, is found nowhere more explicitly than in the Egyptian funerary texts. Chiseled into the tombs of kings, they served a magical purpose, that of ensuring the safe passage of the deceased pharaoh, the embodiment of the sun god Ra, through the underworld. When the declining Ra enters through the western door, like Surawardi's Occidental exile, he does so as an old man. When he returns to the field of offerings in the east, he is rejuvenated. In between, he must travel through 12 caves, symbolizing the 12 hours of the night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. In the 12th cave, 12 goddesses, 6 on each side, surround a child, heralding the sun god's imminent rise. Upon entering the thick darkness, Ra is bound to the material sun which he represents, obliged to follow its nocturnal trajectory. Yet he emerges from the underworld at the 12th hour, having defeated time as a being of pure, uncreated light. In the meantime, however, he must undergo a series of trials of the Orphic type. At the 4th hour, Ra enters Rosatau, the tomb of Osiris, amidst the deepest darkness and silence. The exit is blocked by doors like knives, a familiar initiatory motif known as the Dangerous Passage. Ra enters the Black Sun and begins his fusion with Osiris, the Living One, an identification that will ultimately enable him to traverse the Death Chamber. Of the nature of this chamber, a spell that forms part of the so-called coffin texts relates the following. This is the sealed thing which is in darkness, with fire about it, which contains the efflux of Osiris, and it is put in Rosatau. It has been hidden since it fell from him, and it is what has come down from him onto the desert of sand. Considering that Osiris, the green-skinned god of the afterlife, is associated with natural and supernatural rebirth, there is a striking similarity between the location of the efflux of Osiris according to the coffin texts, and that of the water of life which, as mentioned in the Persian Rose Garden of Mystery, is also concealed within darkness. Notice also that the above-mentioned spell contains the exact black-red-green color scheme utilized by Cobra and Surawardi in describing their ecstatic journey to the center. A second trial, similar to the Hall of Knives of the 4th hour, is found in the 5th cave. Ra must navigate a subterranean lake, the contents of which appear simultaneously as a soothing tonic to the just and impassable flames to the heavy-hearted. This, of course, is reminiscent of the dual properties ascribed to the Holy Grail and countless other analogous objects in the Hyperborean mythos. Those who cling to what is anatta are obliterated, for the water to those who are in the necropolis is fire. Interestingly, in Heracles' 6th labor, the midpoint of his trials, an analogous scene is presented. In his quest to slay the Stymphalian birds, the fabled hero is unable to cross a treacherous swamp, sinking further with every step due to his own weight. The meaning of this heaviness should be fairly clear. By means of a magic rattle, a gift from the deathless Athena, Heracles draws the steel-winged birds from their lair and slays them with arrows, symbolic, as is the rattle, of shamanic flight and of leaving the body. Note the similarity in passing between a flurry of birds with sharp wings and the Hall of Knives of the Duat. In the 6th cave of the underworld, in other words, at midnight, The fusion of the souls of Ra and Osiris is complete. Noon, the primordial ocean from whence all waters come, washes away all distinctions between light and darkness, and those between the beginning and the end of the solar cycle, the superposition of which is symbolized by the appearance of the midnight sun. Ra crosses the boundaries of death by being dismembered by proxy through his identification with Osiris, the one who was ritually cut into pieces the first time. The black sun is then inundated by the green ray, the efflux of the green-skinned god, and seizing hold of its cables like Hermes, it begins its ascent towards the eastern horizon. A spell from the Kophic texts relates, in unambiguous terms, the effects of the emerald vision, the green ray of the Persian Sufis, on those who witness it. He who sees the dead Osiris will never die. Panning out, it is revealed that all along, the 12 caves of the Duat were merely segments of the great snake Ouroboros, the world encircler. The voyage from the western to the eastern door is made circular as the snake coils up on itself. At the point where its tail meets its mouth, heaven and earth collide and a gateway to the pole is opened. Ra's triumphant passage through the 12 caves mirrors the 12 victories of Heracles and those of the Buddha who, having transcended the 12 Nidana, escaped from the circle of life and death. To the Occidental exile traveling through an increasingly unfamiliar landscape, the essence of the black sun, the sealed thing which is in darkness, is a promise of escape from the burning, shifting sands. His journey to the center is fraught with peril. Before reaching the Emerald Isle, he must first traverse a black ocean, past the wrecks of 1,000 ships. At midnight, a lighthouse guides another boat ashore and disappears. Once again, perpetual darkness covers the pole.
Okay.